Hello everybody, welcome to the Ultimate Scouting Show. Thank you guys so much for joining me here. Today we have a special draft episode. We're going to be looking at the 2023 NFL Draft and doing a mock draft. So really excited. There's a couple of teams I know, maybe it's Lions fans, Texans fans, Panthers fans, that you're really already kind of looking forward to the draft. So I'm going to bring you some content here. If you like NFL draft content, we're going to be doing a whole lot of that as the draft continues to get closer. We also do NFL power rankings, weekly game picks, top plays of the week, all that good stuff. So if any of that interests you, please hit that subscribe button down below. While you're down there, please like this video as well. That helps me out so much. Let's go ahead and hop right into things. One thing that I do think is important to note, that this order is based on my power rankings in week 7. Also, this is what I think these teams will do, not necessarily what I would do. This is not how I have these prospects ranked, so I do think that is important to note as well. So let's get started here. At number 1 overall, we have the Carolina Panthers. We're going to have them taking Bryce Young here, the quarterback out of Alabama. Bryce Young has really just demonstrated that it factor. I think he's been really good for Alabama so far this year. I just think he has natural accuracy, good arm talent, good mobility. He's got all the tools that you want besides height. If you can get over that, I think he's going to be a really good quarterback in this league here. We have him going number 1 overall to the Carolina Panthers, who really need someone to be the face of that team, someone to kind of change the culture of that organization. At number 2, we have CJ Stroud going to the Houston Texans, the quarterback from Ohio State. Stroud is kind of more of the prototypical quarterback that we see go early in these drafts. Great size, really good pocket presence, good accuracy and arm talent within the pocket as well. There's kind of the stigma around Ohio State quarterbacks, but I think that he progresses through his reads relatively well. He's had some rough moments at certain points throughout the season, then rebounds really well. His stats are off the charts. I know he's throwing to great wide receivers, but he can definitely put it in a really tight window. I think he's a good player. We have him going to the Houston Texans here. Davis Mills has been decent, but just too many mistakes. You need someone that can elevate the players around him. I like Davis Mills, but I think he's more just a backup at this point. CJ Stroud gives you that high-level quarterback that you can build around for the future. At number 3, we have the Chicago Bears on the clock here. Obviously, I think quarterback is in play if one of those top 2 guys is here. Justin Fields has not had much to work with, but I do think that you have to at least consider that option. I also think trading down is certainly an option as well. We're not doing any trades in this draft, so I am going to have them taking Will Anderson here. I know it's a defensive player, but they just need help all across the board. Will Anderson gives them that elite alpha 1 edge presence that they desperately need. Will Anderson is probably one of those prospects that you could compare to Myles Garrett, to Chase Young, Nick Bosa. He is definitely on that tier. I think that he is the number 1 player in this class right now, so definitely good getting him at number 3 here. I do think that the Bears would like to get offense, but you got to take talent over need this high in the draft. Will Anderson is the best player available. You got to take him. At number 4, we have the Washington Commanders on the clock here. I'm going to have them selecting Will Levis, the quarterback out of Kentucky. I think that this is definitely kind of based on traits. Levis has an NFL arm. He definitely has some of the size, the mobility, a lot of the things that you look for in a prototypical kind of developmental quarterback prospect. Now, number 4 seems high for that, and I kind of agree based on what I've seen so far, but I think that the NFL is just going to fall in love with this guy. He's a leader. He's got a really good arm. Like, he just has so many of the things that you look for in an NFL quality franchise quarterback. So I definitely think that for a Commanders team that has dealt with the Carson Wentz experience, you've got some playmakers in Terry McLaurin, and Jahan Dotson looks good. De'Ami Brown's kind of come alive a little bit. You've got enough pieces there that you need a quarterback that can take advantage of them. I'm going to go with Will Levis here. Probably with a new regime, I think they're going to want to bring in a new quarterback. At number 5, we have the Detroit Lions. I have them selecting Jalen Carter, the interior defensive lineman from Georgia. Jalen Carter is one of the best players in this draft, no doubt about it. He's got the pass rush upside. He's a great run stuffer. He's so athletically gifted. I think it is not bold at all to say he was the best player on that Georgia defensive line that had Trayvon Walker, that has Nolan Smith, obviously Jordan Davis as well. So ridiculously talented from that championship team last year. I think that Jalen Carter is the best of all of them. Getting him at number 5 overall to really help a run defense that has struggled this year. Just getting stronger up front, up the middle is huge for the Lions here. Really helps out their defense. At number 6, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers we have them taking Keely Ringo, the cornerback out of Georgia as well. Ringo has all of the athletic tools that you're really, really excited about in a corner. He's got the length, the speed, the size, all that stuff that you look for. He has. He's played really well so far this year as well. I think he's someone that is going to shoot up draft boards once we kind of get into this draft process. The athletic tools of Ringo is just so elite, and I think that that's going to make him a top 10 pick here. For the Steelers, who really need a corner to kind of be that alpha one, ever since Joe Hayden kind of declined and wasn't the same player and is now no longer on the team, they really haven't had that number one corner that they can rely on, put you against, the number one wide receiver of that opposing team and trust them to be able to make plays. They've got some decent play out of Sutton and some of their other guys there, Wallace as well, but you need an alpha one corner. I think that Ringo could be that player. At number 7, we have the Houston Texans back on the clock here. This is via the Browns because of that Deshaun Watson trade. I have them taking Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver out of TCU. A lot of people are kind of not sure where to place Johnston. I just think he is going to go flying up draft boards as this process continues. Johnston is a 6'4", huge body wide receiver that can really run as well. He can make contested catches. He's got that true number one wide receiver build. He's got the speed for it. He's got the hands, the ability to go up and make plays. I just think that getting that kind of player for CJ Stroud, who you just drafted, surrounding him with as much talent as possible. Brandon Cooks is a good player. Nico Collins is a pretty good player. Support him as much as you possibly can. You've already got Laramie Tunsil and Kenyon Green on that offensive line. So get CJ Stroud some weapons. Dameon Pierce has been good as well. I think this really kind of completes some of the weapons that would allow CJ Stroud to be successful in this offense. At number 8 overall, we have the Atlanta Falcons on the clock here. I have them selecting Miles Murphy, the edge rusher out of Clemson. I just think that Murphy has all the natural tools that you really look for to be that alpha edge. We're talking about a lot of alpha players here, but that's what you're looking for in the top 10. Guys that could potentially be top 3, top 1 at their respective position. Miles Murphy has a lot of the tools that you look for. He's been successful stopping the run, being able to set the edge. He's shown good pass rush arsenal. He's got really good athleticism. He's got length and bend, all that stuff that you look for. I think you've kind of got to put it all together for him, but for a Falcons team that has desperately needed edge help, even going back to their Super Bowl, I think that you really could add an impact player there. Line him up opposite Arnold Ebiketie. You've got Grady Jarrett there. All right, that defense is starting to look a little more competent with some of the young playmakers you've got there as well. At number 9, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. I have them selecting Paris Johnson Jr., the offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Now, this would take some finagling here. Colton Miller is really a pretty decent lineman for the Raiders. He plays left tackle. Paris Johnson has shown he is best at left tackle. I think you just kind of draft them and figure it out. One can play right tackle, one could maybe kick in a guard if you needed to, but Paris Johnson just has so many of the things that you look for. He's got size, he's got really good athleticism, he has just great natural talent, which is really important. He was a super high recruit as well, has looked really good out in space at tackle this year at Ohio State. Looks just so sound in pass protection. I've watched every Ohio State game. I went to Ohio State, so I certainly pay attention. And Paris Johnson just hasn't been noticed at all, which is a great thing for an offensive lineman. He is absolutely holding his own. He looks really good. I think he's someone that could also shoot up draft boards here. At number 10, I have the Cardinals selecting Joey Porter Jr., the cornerback out of Penn State. Porter Jr. has kind of been tested quite a bit this year at Penn State. For whatever reason, quarterbacks like to test him and go after him, and he is definitely answered the call a lot of times. Porter has a really good length, size profile. He's got good speed as well. Obviously, his dad was in the NFL, so he's got the bloodlines there as well. I just think he's such a sound corner. I think he's someone that has the tools that you look for. And for a Cardinals team that can't keep starting Marco Wilson and the guys they have on the outside there, you've got to get better in that position. I think Joey Porter is a really good choice there to kind of upgrade that corner room. At number 11, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. They acquire this pick from the New Orleans Saints, and I have them selecting Felix Anudike-Uzomah, the edge out of Kansas State. Felix has been a really productive player in the Big 12 this year. He has a lot of that power that you look for as well. He can convert speed to power. He's just been productive this year. I think that the Eagles could use someone. Obviously, you've got Derek Barnett, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick as well, but I think that you kind of like the power players in the Eagles mold there. And Brandon Graham isn't getting any younger. You kind of want to upgrade that position. There's not a whole lot of needs on this team. I think that getting a productive power rusher like Felix Anudike-Uzomah would be a really good fit for this team. He's just had a good season, and I could certainly see him being an exciting prospect for them. At number 12, we have the Seattle Seahawks on the clock via the Denver Broncos, acquired in the Russell Wilson trade. I have them taking Bryan Bresee, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. Bresee was the number 1 overall recruit back just a few years ago. He struggled a little bit with injuries and just production, but he has obviously the athletic tools to be absolutely monstrous in the NFL. He definitely has shown some pass rush upside. He's been really effective as a penetrating player in the run game as well. I just think that for a team that has struggled defensively like the Seahawks have, getting someone up front that can really dominate and has that potential to be, we've talked about it, but an alpha player at his position. He can be like one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL if he reaches his full potential. So I think you're really drafting based on upside here. Hopefully he's able to stay healthy, continue to develop, but I really like what I see from Bresee. I think this could be a really good landing spot for him. At number 13, we have the New England Patriots. I have them selecting Peter Skoronski, the offensive tackle out of Northwestern. Skoronski reminds me a lot of Rashawn Slater, his former teammates at Northwestern there. He's just not the most athletically gifted. He's not the most naturally talented, but he has great technique. He's incredibly reliable, and he just has all of the things that make a tackle a good player. He can set his feet in the run game. He's got good hands. He doesn't have the best length in the world, but he just makes it work. His pass protection technique is really good. He's just so technically sound. I think, for the Patriots, you're probably going to be replacing Isaiah Wynn here. And Trent Brown isn't getting any younger. Offensive tackle is going to be a need for this team. Skoronski fits that bill. He seems like a Bill Belichick guy. Definitely excited for this pick. At number 14, we have the Seattle Seahawks. I have them taking Cam Smith, the corner out of South Carolina here. I know that the Seahawks have had success taking corners later on in the draft. Obviously, you get Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant's played decent as well. But I think you could really use someone that has the elite tools to be a true number 1 corner. I know Woolen potentially could be that, but why not add to that defense and continue? This league is all about wide receivers. Get as many good corners as you possibly can. Smith has all of the tools that you look for. He's got the length, the speed, he's got physicality. Another easy comparison here is J.C. Horn. I don't think he's quite the same caliber of prospect that Horn was, but he's definitely a really good player. He's got the tools that you look for, and for a Seattle defense that continues to need good elite pieces, he definitely could fit that bill for them. At number 15, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock here. I have them selecting Jackson Smith-Njigba, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. I just think that Smith-Njigba would fit really, really well with what Trevor Lawrence and this offense wants to be. You just need to be able to be more consistent. You've got your deep play threat with Christian Kirk. You've got, some nice underneath players as well. Smith-Njigba just gives you that slot route running separation guy that is just consistently going to be open as a possession receiver for Trevor Lawrence. I think that that's going to be so key to unlocking this offense, just getting another weapon in there that Lawrence can go to in key situations. Just having more guys on the field that can beat their corners and win their matchups would allow him to develop further. Surrounding Lawrence with as much talent as possible, who you truly believe is a franchise generational type quarterback, just give him all the tools he needs to be successful. Smith-Njigba has dealt with injuries this year, but I definitely think he's a great prospect, someone that the Jaguars could certainly use. At number 16, I have the New York Jets. I have them taking Broderick Jones, offensive tackle out of Georgia. Jones is definitely a little bit raw, but the Jets definitely need some tackle help. You've obviously got Dwayne Brown there starting right now. Mekhi Becton has been there, but he's hurt. George Fant is in and out. You've got some decent guys at tackle, but you just need someone that can be there consistently. And Brown and Fant can't be in your long-term future plans. Getting someone like Jones allows you to kind of solidify that left tackle position, hopefully allow Zach Wilson to continue to grow and develop. It just makes a lot of sense to attack this position, and I think Jones is the best offensive tackle on the board at this point. At number 17, I have the Colts taking another offensive tackle. I have them taking Olu Fashanu, the offensive tackle out of Penn State. Fashanu is a really, really young, raw player, but man, he has looked really good at moments this year. He is not necessarily the most technically sound, but he's got great athletic talent. He's got the things that you look for. He can be mauling in the run game. He can be really good in the pass game as well. He's just one of those guys that I think has all of the upside that you look for. And for a Colts team that needs help at left tackle, their offensive line, they've invested a lot into it, but it's just not working out. If you're continuing to build around Matt Ryan, you've got to protect him. He's obviously not very mobile. So I think getting a really good high upside left tackle is something that the Colts would look for. No doubt about it. At number 18, we have the Tennessee Titans on the clock. I have them selecting Jordan Addison, the wide receiver out of USC. I think that Addison's just been incredibly productive the last 2 years. Obviously, won the Biletnikoff Award at Pitt last year. He's been great at USC with Lincoln Riley this year as well. I just think that he has shown he can be productive in a variety of ways. And the Titans definitely need additional playmakers. Since trading A.J. Brown, you've got Robert Woods and Treylon Burks, but Burks is hurt. He's shown some good things, but you just need more playmakers, especially if you're going to rely on Ryan Tannehill continually as Derrick Henry amasses more carries. You're probably going to have to rely on Ryan Tannehill in a high-flying AFC. Get him some weapons. I think Addison is a great pick for that. He's a really good possession receiver, can get open. He's got so many things going for him, so really excited about this pick for the Titans. At number 19, we have the Detroit Lions back on the clock here via the Los Angeles Rams. This is part of the Matthew Stafford trade. I have them selecting Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback out of Oregon. Gonzalez was a transfer out of Colorado last year, and man, this dude is crazy athletic. He's got elite speed, absolutely insane speed. He was a track star in high school. He's got great size, great length. He's just got those things that you look for, and wow, like that guy could be the best corner in the NFL. He's got the tools to be that kind of guy. Now, he doesn't have necessarily the ball production and the ball skills that are absolutely amazing, but you certainly feel you can teach that. And he had an interception earlier in this year as well. He's starting to show some of those skills. So I think that you're just excited about the potential of Christian Gonzalez. I think the Lions could certainly add to the corner room here. Okuda's been playing well. Oruwariye is not the worst player in the world, but just get more guys at really elite defensive positions. You've invested in the trenches. Go ahead and get some playmakers on the back end as well. You need to invest in this defense. It was really bad. So get some high-end talent. Christian Gonzalez, a good pick there in my opinion. At number 20, we have the forfeited Miami Dolphins pick. Not going to spend too much time on this. This was for the tampering violations with Tom Brady and Sean Payton. At number 21, we have the Green Bay Packers on the clock here. I have them selecting Isaiah Foskey, the edge out of Notre Dame. Since Za'Darius Smith left, Rashawn Gary's obviously been a great player, but they could definitely add to the defensive line. Foskey is a nice power player. He's got a nice athletic profile as well. He can stop the run. He can certainly do a lot in the pass rush game as well. I just think he fits a similar mold to kind of what we saw with Rashawn Gary, where he's got a lot of the raw tools you look for. He's a bit more of a power player, and I think the Packers have developed Gary super well. Obviously, I'd love to see them invest in offensive linemen or a playmaker, but I just don't foresee that happening. They clearly don't want to do it. So I'm going to have them taking another area of need here in Foskey that I think could upgrade this defense. At number 22, we have the New York Giants. I have them selecting Clark Phillips III, the cornerback out of Utah. Phillips does not have the natural size. We've talked a lot about that for a lot of corners here, about how size and speed and athleticism are all great qualities in a corner. Clark Phillips really doesn't necessarily have a lot of those things that get you super jazzed up about taking this guy in the first round. And then you watch him play, you're like, wow, his instincts, his ball skills, his physicality are insane. Those things transfer to the NFL too. All these other guys we're talking about, wow, they could be so good. They've got all the tools to be so good. Clark Phillips just is good. And his instincts, his physicality, his toughness, his ball skills, those all translate. He's going to be a really good player. I think that this Wink Martindale scheme requires good corners, so you can trust these guys to hold up in man-to-man coverage while you blitz a lot of players. Clark Phillips would be a great addition to this Giants defensive back line here. Really excited about this pick for the Giants. At number 23, I have the LA Chargers taking Kayshon Boutte, the wide receiver out of LSU. Boutte has had a rough season a little bit. There's been a little bit of some attitude or character concerns that have been floating around. I don't know anything of if that's true or not. Hopefully he continues to just play hard because he's a great player and he provides some of that speed. He can be a deep threat, which I think is really what this Chargers team needs. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are both injury prone. Allen's not getting any younger. You obviously want to surround Herbert with as many weapons as possible. And I think the offensive line is hopefully kind of solidified itself. Next year, you'll get Slater back. Jamari Salyer could potentially start at right tackle. And the interior is not bad. So you hopefully have an offensive line that's pretty set in stone. Just give them some more playmakers, and I think this offense hopefully should be able to take that next step and really be elite. At number 24, we have the Cincinnati Bengals on the clock. I have them selecting Michael Mayer, the tight end out of Notre Dame. And this isn't anything against Hayden Hurst. He's had a really, really good year so far. Been a lot of fun to watch. And I'm not saying at all that you can't re-sign Hurst and draft Mayer still. Drew Sample is also expiring. They just haven't had a really elite tight end for a while. I think that this just gives you so much flexibility. You already have those three really good playmakers on the outside, obviously. You've got Chase, Higgins, and Boyd. Now, what they've been doing, a lot of defenses are putting too high shells on them, and so Burrow's having to throw it underneath to tight ends and running backs. Getting a tight end that could go in there, and Mayer is so physical, he's so talented running routes, really good at the catch point. I think he's got some blocking skills as well. Having that guy underneath while those other guys are going long, like that's just an insane offense. I think Mayer could be a great addition to this team. Very exciting stuff for the Bengals. At number 25, we have the Dallas Cowboys. I have them selecting Trenton Simpson, the linebacker out of Clemson. Simpson isn't necessarily a traditional linebacker. He kind of plays in that overhang role a little bit that we've seen with certain players. He can cover guys. He's a little bit like a safety, but he can certainly come up and fill in the run game. I think he's one of the better players in this draft, probably a top 15 player in this draft. I think he may fall a little bit just because we don't necessarily know where he's going to fit in exactly in the NFL, but just continuing to add to the versatility of the Dallas defense, being able to allow Micah Parsons to rush from a full-time edge position or just get creative with defensive schemes. You can move on from Vander Esch and some of the linebackers that are old and maybe not playing amazingly for the Cowboys right now. I think that this would be a really good pick and would just allow their defense to continue to be even more fantastic. At number 26, we have the Miami Dolphins on the clock. This is the 49ers original selection for the Trey Lance trade here. And I have the Dolphins taking Bijan Robinson, the running back out of Texas. A lot of Dolphins fans may sigh at the idea of a running back in the first round, but Bijan is an absolute offensive weapon. Think of him as like a mini Christian McCaffrey where he is a pass catcher. I'm not comparing him to McCaffrey because McCaffrey is one of the best running backs in the NFL, but he can be a pass catcher. He is so good at that. He can be an absolute elite runner. He's just got all of the tools that you look for as a running back. He's probably the best running back prospect that we've seen in a while, maybe since Saquon. So he's definitely been an awesome player. If we were just drafting based on pure talent, he would be a top 15 pick. I think that is clear as day. He's been awesome. So definitely a good value pick for the talent here for the Dolphins. I think they need to be able to run the ball a little bit better. Bijan gives them that ability. At number 27, we have the Baltimore Ravens on the clock here. I have them selecting Jared Verse, the edge rusher out of Florida State. He's had an interesting story, kind of came from humble beginnings, transferred to Florida State, and has had a really good season so far this year. He's just got some nice things that you really are excited about in an edge rusher position. I think that the Ravens continue to need to upgrade this position. OA, and they just haven't been as great this year. Obviously, you hope Ojabo can get back, and they have invested resources into this position, but I just think that Verse would be a really nice selection for a team that doesn't necessarily need tons of weapons. I think Verse just fills another need on defense and allows you to stay competitive in a division where pass rush is king. Obviously, you have Myles Garrett, you have TJ Watt, Trey Hendrickson's elite. Like, the Ravens have got to get their elite edge rusher as well. So that potentially could be Verse here. At number 28, I have the Buccaneers selecting Tyree Wilson, the edge out of Texas Tech. This guy reminds me a lot of Trayvon Walker. He's got the incredible length, really good in the run game. He can set the edge well. He just doesn't have an absolutely awesome tool belt of pass rush moves. He's just not the most refined in that regard. So you're going to have to kind of scheme him and kind of teach him how to pass rush. And that can take time and that can be painful, but they've got some nice players there right now. I just think that Wilson has such a high upside, like the league obviously saw in Trayvon Walker. I think he's a little bit less athletic than Walker. I don't think he quite has the same ceiling necessarily, but he's very similar mold for sure. So high potential for Wilson, and the Buccaneers, I think, could take a swing at that at this point. At number 29 for the Vikings, I have them selecting Gervin Dexter, the interior defensive lineman for Florida. Dexter has been an absolute warrior. He's played so much for Florida this year. He's just shown pass rush upside. He can clog up the run game in the middle. It can be a two-gapping, defensive tackle. I just think that this Vikings team could get stronger up front. Dexter could definitely be a big part of that. And so I think that this is a good pick for them. At number 30, I have the Chiefs taking B.J. Ojulari. This is Azeez Ojulari's brother. He is an edge out of LSU. Ojulari has shown some really nice tools so far this year. He's got some nice pass rush moves, which I definitely think is really important. He's shown he can win in a variety of ways. I just think he's got a good athleticism. He's just a really nice player. I know that the Chiefs took George Karlaftis. They have Frank Clark. They've got some nice pieces in there, but just continuing to add pass rush in a league that's so pass happy, I totally see them going this route. I think that this makes the most sense for them there. At number 31 for the Philadelphia Eagles, I have them taking Antonio Johnson, the safety out of Texas A&M. He kind of plays all over. He's just a defensive back here. He's very versatile. He just kind of gives you the ability to do whatever you want on this back end. He can play as a safety. He can play as a nickel corner. He can come down and kind of fill the box as a linebacker. So he just gives you so many more options. He kind of fills the role of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson here, which they may move on from, who knows, but just continue to add depth at really key positions. He could play safety for them as well, which I don't think is necessarily their strongest position. So just lots of options on this team that doesn't have many holes. Just continue to add to a defense that could use a little bit of an infusion of youth. I think Johnson provides that. At number 32, I have the Buffalo Bills taking Brian Branch, the safety out of Alabama. Branch also kind of plays this hybrid role where he can play as a free safety, he can play as a strong safety, he can play as a nickel box defender. He's just kind of been able to play everywhere. The Bills obviously value really versatile, strong safety play. We've seen that with Poyer and Hyde, both down various points throughout this year. Safeties are absolutely key to Buffalo's defense. Those guys aren't getting any younger, so just adding another piece that can be a nice, versatile option for them on that back end could be really key for this Bills team. So that is going to do it for my 2023 way too early mid-season mock here. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a really fun way to maybe even just introduce you to some of these college players. I know a lot of you follow college football, but this is just a great way to kind of see who's on the draft radar right now and kind of where they might be right now. So thank you guys so much for watching. As I mentioned before, if you like NFL draft content, we're going to be bringing so much more of that as the draft nears. Please hit that subscribe button down below. We also do all things NFL, power rankings, predictions, highlight videos, all that good stuff. So please like this video, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much. Bye.